YouTube is an absurdly large platform. There are 6 hours of video uploaded to it every second. That's insane. It's hard to break through such an oversaturated site, but for those that do, they can cultivate a substantial fan base that can potentially help them get leverage in other mediums of entertainment. Books, movies, podcasts, even the stand-up comedy scene. But today, since this is a comics and art-focused channel, we are talking about comic books. Welcome to the inaugural episode of YouTuber Comics, Devoro. So, The Masked Man is a popular channel that I'm sure a lot of my subscribers are familiar with, covering manga. He's slowly creeping up to 500,000 subscribers, and for good reason. Dude makes good content, not to mention his unique and involved editing style. He also really specifically focuses on manga, otherwise known as Japanese comics. So much so he even made his own called Devoro. He is marketing it as a manga, which I feel like I need a little aside here for a moment. So the word manga is literally just Japanese for comics. It is, however, a word that a lot of modern creators in the comic field adopt to refer to their creations for marketing's sake. A recent event inspired this series with the release of YouTuber Corey Kenshin's manga, quote unquote, in which a lot of people were complaining of the use of the word manga. It's marketing, okay? When you say comics, people think of superhero slop, aka cape shit, you know? That stuff is antiquated. Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked, but we'll cover that guy's comic in a future episode. Oh, and I should note, I only know who that guy is because of the constant glazing Dexerto does for him. Like, it's ridiculous. I'm not familiar with his content, but look forward to my heavily unbiased review, because I didn't even know who he was. But back to the review at hand, in this video, Devoro by The Masked Man. Why not give it a read? The guy that reviews manga for a living surely would look forward to having his own manga reviewed by a fellow manga reviewer that reviews manga. Review? Yeah. Okay. Plot synopsis. Quote, if the world fell apart and you could do nothing but survive, how would you do it? What purpose or peace can you find when all that remains is the ruins of the past? Masked Man is the author, and the artwork is done by an artist going by the moniker Odinji. Hell of a name, brother. It currently stands at just 1 chapter, so this video will probably be on the shorter side. Let's get into it. Sounds like an apocalypse story. As for first impressions, dude, why is the first chapter called Chapter 0? I mean, it would make sense if it was a prequel chapter, but it's literally the first one and the only one out at the time of recording this review. I don't know, man. Seems a little unnecessarily confusing, man. And starting to read this manga, I have my first complaint, and a complaint you'll see me say time and time again for any Western manga creator. The right-to-left format. The reason manga from Japan is formatted right to left is because they are originally created in the Japanese language, which reads in that direction, but when they get translated, they stay formatted that way as to not alter the artwork. Books, you know, word books that are translated from right to left reading languages are formatted left to right for English speakers. I have watched quite a large chunk of Masked Man's content, and dude's not Japanese. Or at least not a Japanese native. I don't know. Dude's never done a face reveal. This circles back to my frustration with calling comics manga. Hell, I make a comic that is presented in a somewhat manga format. Grayscale, black and white art, non-superhero, mature story. But I format it in a way an English speaker would read it because, well, I'm not Japanese, nor is the story in Japanese. Originally. It's written in English. It's really frustrating to read it knowing that the creator knows that that's not how you're supposed to read the damn language. Alright, that's just a little bit of a frustration I have when Westerners create manga. Like, just format it the way you would read it as an English speaker, you know? Or whatever language you're writing it in. Okay, grievances aired. As for the art, it's pretty damn good. It goes for a more realistic approach with stylized facial features. It feels somewhat reminiscent of Takehiko Inoue's work on Vagabond. There's a lot of tonal variation and the texture work is phenomenal, but I will go more in depth in the art review section. Onward to the story review segment. Okay, so I just finished reading the chapter and, well, there isn't quite a lot to go on. The majority of this is really just a well-illustrated fight scene, but to recap, this is set in some kind of apocalyptic world. We get ourselves a snowy apocalypse rather than a more generic wasteland apocalypse, so Bonus points for that. I like snowy settings. Just a personal preference thing. So, it's implied that our main character here, who we find out is named Mateo a few pages in, is part of some kind of crew of monster hunters. He's about to take on a dangerous job when one of his friends advised that he doesn't, especially without Matthias's help. Matthias, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Maybe it's Matthias. Probably Matthias, right? Only being shown in a single panel, seems to be the Jack Giga Chad Pro of the group. Love that character archetype. But we're still waiting on Chapter 2, or 1 in this case, for some reason. Mateo insists on taking the job because of its high pay. He sets off saying that it'll take 3 days. We'll see about that. So he's about to leave when this immortal reject over here named Jordy talks some shit. Mateo leaves and descends from this cool-looking structure. There's a brief flashback when Mateo was younger and his memories of his mother. She passes on with her telling him to make a better life for himself, and we're back to the present day where Mateo is tracking his prey, which he does find, and a rather long sequence of him battling this nightmare creature plays out. It's really well choreographed, and I'll talk about fight choreography in the art review segment, but throughout the pages, you're not really sure who's gonna win this, until the last few where Mateo is getting his ass kicked and it looks like they're gonna kill off the protagonist in the first chapter, or the 0th chapter. I'm not letting that go. So yeah, killing off the protagonist in the first chapter. That might be interesting if it took a turn and ended up being about the other characters, but we get a bit of a cliche. It looks like it's over, but a mysterious figure delivers the killing blow from off-screen. Like I said, a bit cliched, but tried and true. There's not much to go on based on one single chapter. We can tell this world is some kind of apocalyptic glacier inhabited with nightmare creatures. There are people that hunt these monsters down, and there's some kind of political structure, briefly implied when Mateo's friend mentioned some kind of meetings that take up a lot of time. There's some good characterization done by the brief flashbacks to Mateo's mother's dying words. His motivations are clear and are to make a better life for himself, and I guess his friends too, seemingly by any means necessary, if he's gonna fight these Dark Souls bosses to do it. I liked it, but it definitely needs a Chapter 2, or Chapter 1 in this case. I'm not going to let that Chapter 0 thing go, man. But there's definitely a lot of potential in this story, especially considering Masked Man's background and analyzing or reviewing tons and tons of manga. Again, I'm still going to complain about the format, but if he or Odinji comes across this video, keep at it, dude. You definitely got something here. On to the art review. Art review time, and the art of Devoro is pretty damn fantastic, actually. I said before that the character designs feel a bit reminiscent of Vagabond, and that's definitely bonus points. I really like Inoue's artwork, although I've never read his manga despite wanting to. I want to read it physically, but it's literally always out of stock. Anyway, Odinji goes for a more painterly feel with the art, even down to the panels having these rougher edges. Every stroke feels intentional and well thought out. I'd love to see some early sketches and layouts for these pages, because there were clearly a few drafts before committing. There is way more use of pure black shadows than the expected cross-hatching you see in a lot of manga. Hell, that I do a lot myself. I'm a hatcher through and through. But Odinji feels like there's an approach to give this oppressive atmosphere with its heavy blacks to match the apocalyptic setting. Anatomy has a subtle stylization, again like I said with the facial features, but is consistently correctly drawn throughout. Architecture and environments evoke a sense of dread in a dying world, as was the intent. I love this ribcage thing here. Makes me want to know what happened here. As for layout and flow, the comic is, as stated, drawn right to left, which is a bit annoying knowing that this was written in English and not translated, but you get used to it, just like reading the Japanese manga. There's good pacing throughout as to not clutter up the page with 1,000 panels, and visual storytelling, especially considering how little dialogue is in this chapter, is at an all-time high. You can tell Mateo's friend has had enough of his recklessness. It's clear that Mateo has faced monsters like the creature on screen before. The fight scenes are mostly easy to read and have a good flow to them. Fight choreography is a lot like editing a video. What are the key events that happen during the story, and how does one show them in a sequence that keeps the viewers engaged? When the beast shows up, it looks like Mateo is outmatched, but then he starts putting up a good fight. Then it looks like it might be the end of him, but a stranger appears to save the day, hooking you to stay tuned to the next chapter. It has a certain ebb and flow to it that's really well done. Now, my one critique of the art is that sometimes there could have been a bit more usage of negative space for the sake of visibility. In other words, leaving some parts of the page blank, like this shot right here. Might have read a little bit better without the background in front of Mateo, but That might just be my graphic design background coming out, and some people might prefer the more detailed panel here. Although this isn't really an issue, as Odinji clearly knows what they're doing, as there's some great use of negative space in this very panel of Mateo riding his horse. I like this panel a lot. Also, is this a Berserk homage right here? Honestly, I had to nitpick to find something negative to say. I don't want to be mistaken for a glazer. I'm just a reader. The art's like a 9.5 out of 10 for me. Good job. Anyway, to wrap this one up, I want more. Where's chapter 2? Huh? Where is it? Where is it? Or, chapter 1, actually. I'm not letting that go. Come on, man. Chapter 0? But it's the only one? I suppose it's the art that's making this delay. Honestly, this is a damn good-looking comic, which means there's probably way more time between chapters, you know? Have you seen Berserk's release schedule? I look forward to its future and hope the creator is the best, honestly. It's good job. Good job, guys. You did good. If you have suggestions for future installments of YouTuber comics, please leave them below. I'm already planning to get to the aforementioned Corey Kenshin's manga, quote-unquote, as well as Godslap by Moist Critical. That one seemed to be pretty popular. And I think Rusty Cage put one out a ways back. Those are the first few that come to mind. There are definitely more. I've already consulted the Discord, which you can check out in the description below. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please like, comment, and subscribe. You know the YouTuber routine. Patreon. Shout out to all the patrons. Your support means the world to me. Check out my comic Doomsayer. And until next time, once again, thank you for watching this video.